Welcome back, friends, to another lesson of our algebra unit. In the next two lessons, I'm going to be talking about using adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing, but solving for the variable using those operations and using another method. Now, I should warn you that this is the beginning of a method that you're going to be starting to use all throughout your school career as you keep on going. With this lesson, though, it's very simple because we are just starting out. So you're going to find that I'm not going to get any more complicated than what we have in this lesson. So if you catch on, then you're on a good track, shall we say. So let's start off with a simple statement here. So an equation is like a balance scale. So we'll have a good diagram right here. Now, if you think back to the previous lessons that I've already done, when we're talking about an equation, we're talking about that good old-fashioned equal sign here. All right, so that when we are talking about an algebraic statement, it turns into an equation because we're using that equal sign here. Now, the key with this being a balanced scale is that your numbers on both sides of that equal sign have to be the same. Now, please remember that as we go on through this lesson. So let me give you this example. I have an equation here that I want you to solve. X plus 6 equals 14. Now you and I both know that you can proceed through this, do some mental math very quickly and come up with that variable. But the point is, I don't want you to do that. Okay, I'm going to say that again. I don't want you to go straight to the answer. The steps that I'm going to go through are the steps that I want you to go through in this lesson. Don't skip any of them. Don't go straight to the answer because that's not the point. Now, with this lesson, you're going to find out that my very first statement here is I want to try to get this variable x by itself and all the other numbers and everything that are with it, I'm going to move them over to the other side of the equal sign. Now, each time I take numbers and I move them over to the other side of the equal sign, I switch the operation, and this is what I mean. So in this case here, because I'm adding 6 over here, when I flip it over to the other side of the equal sign, I have to do subtract 6. And that's where we have the 14 minus 6. So again, it's plus 6 over on this side, it's a minus 6 here. Now there's two things going on here in the sense that I'm trying to move the numbers over here, but I'm doing one more step. I want to get this x by itself, and you're going to hear me say the term I'm isolating the variable. In order to isolate the variable, I also need to take these numbers and remove them completely. And by doing that, I have to use the other operation. If you think back to our integers unit, when I have this sort of thing, you know my answer is 0, and that's exactly what I want. Now, you'll see here, I've actually crossed that off. So if I'm adding 6 and take away 6, I have a 0 off the bat. And so now I have an x by itself, and that's the circumstance I want. But this is where my attention is going to be focused. So in order to calculate for x, I have to take my 14 and minus 6, and then I have an answer of 8, and that's what I want. Now, this last statement is also very important because I'm proving that my answer is right. So 8 plus 6 is indeed 14. So let's go through and do another example for adding here. So x plus 5 equals 6. Now, if you remember what I said before, we want to take all the numbers here and move them over to the other side of the equal sign. In order to do that, we have to switch their operation. So since I'm adding 5, when I switch it over to the other side of my equal sign, I'm actually going to be subtracting 5, and that's what that statement is here. So by flipping it over to the other side, I have 6, take away 5, but again, because I want to isolate the variable, you're going to see me also putting the negative, or taking 5 away from here as well. If I do that, my x now is by itself, and I can do 6, take away your 5, and now I'm going to be left with x equaling 1, and you'll notice I have a very specific statement here. This is important, where I am stating what the variable is, and here's my proof. 1 plus 5 equals 6. And you know that just from doing simple mental math, so you know your calculations are right. But again, this is how you're going to be starting to solve your equations as you go along. Now, the next two examples that we're going to be going through are going to be subtraction. So here I have x take away 5 equals 12. And if you remember what I said in the previous two examples, I want to take all the numbers that are there, move them over to the other side of the equal sign, and in order to do that, I have to switch the operation. So if I'm subtracting 5, by flipping it over to here, I'm going to be adding 5. So again, I need to isolate that variable, so I take away 5, I'm adding 5 so that I can get rid of the numbers on this side. I flip my take away 5 over to the other side, so now it becomes plus 5. So here I have x by itself. I can remove the take away plus 5, take away 5 plus 5, it's now gone. And I can now take a look at 12 plus 5, which gives me an answer of 17. So my x equals 17. And my proof statement here, 17 minus 5 does indeed equal 12. Okay, our last example, we have an x take away 4 equals 9. Again, I want to get that x by itself. I want to isolate that variable. So in order to do that, I needed to take away the 4, flip it over to the other side of the equal sign. In order to do that, that take away 4 turns into the plus 4. I bring up my next line. So if I'm going to take a look at this side first, so 9 plus 4. But again, because I want to isolate that variable, I have to put the plus 4 as well. That way that 4 disappears. Okay, again, I've crossed it out. So take away 4 plus 4, that has disappeared. That x now is by itself. And now I have 9 plus 4, and that's what I'm looking for, which gives me x equaling 13. There's my proof statement, 13 minus 4 equals 9. And that's the example that we have. So there are your 4 examples. I've gone through 4 of them. I'm not getting any more complicated than that. And all these examples, the variable is at the start and all the other numbers follow. If you need to watch this video again, I would highly encourage you to do so. This is, like I said, it's an easy process, but once you catch on to it, you'll see how to do it. My next lesson, I'm going to be doing the same sort of thing, but with adding and subtracting, but the principle remains the same. So good luck, and we'll see you next time. Bye.